Fridtjof Nansen, explorer, diplomat and humanitarian, who was a laureate of the Nobel Peace Prize in 1922 for his efforts as the leading role in the repatriation of prisoners of war and for his international relief work as the League of Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Hello, my name is Niels Esveld, and today I want to highlight the remarkable work of Fridtjof Nansen, whose work still remains very important over a century later in our modern day and age. In the aftermath of the First World War, Europe was facing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Over 450,000 prisoners of war were still stuck in Russia, many trapped in Siberia without money or transport. And with the Russian Revolution waging in the country, it became hard for the prisoners to return to their native home countries. The Red Cross eventually turned to the League of Nations, a predecessor to the League of Nations and an international organization aiming for world peace. Together, they anointed Fridtjof Nansen as High Commissioner for the repatriation of prisoners of war in April 1920. At the time, Nansen was renowned for his strong sense of ethics and integrity. He had a reputation on the international scene few could claim. His past exploits as an Arctic explorer and as a diplomat of Norway during the First World War had made him a truly sympathetic figure everywhere in Europe, Russia included. It is thus no surprise that the Bolshevik authorities accepted to discuss the repatriation of prisoners with him personally. Nansen negotiated with the Bolsheviks, organized international transport, and even set up aid stations where food, clothes, and medicine were distributed along the routes home. By the summer of 1920, over 400,000 prisoners had been safely returned. Another pressing issue in Russia was the plight of refugees. During the Russian Revolution in the early 1920s, Lenin's government had stripped thousands of their citizenship, leaving them stateless. Red Cross proposed using Nansen's name on a special passport for refugees. The League of Nations approved the idea in 1922, at the same time appointing Nansen as its first High Commissioner for Refugees. The Nansen passport became very sought after and enabled Russian artists such as Igor Stravinsky and Anna Pavlova to begin new lives in the West. With it, refugees could cross borders, find work and rebuild their lives. The committee saw this as groundbreaking. For the first time, the international community had a concrete tool to protect displaced people. Nansen also confronted the humanitarian fallout of the Greco-Turkish War. In 1922, more than 700,000 Greeks were forced to flee the persecutions of Greeks in Asia Minor by the Turks. Once again, Nansen stepped in. Nansen decided that the only solution lay in ethnic separation. Turks and Greeks could not live together. He persuaded the Greek and Turkish governments to agree to a population exchange. Muslims in Greek areas would be exchanged with Greek Orthodox groups in Asia Minor. Thanks to his efforts, my grandparents could flee to their new home in Kozani, Greece, and live next to a house where Turkish people used to live. So, why did the committee focus on Nansen? Because he redefined peace. Not only did he prevent further conflicts, but he also provided concrete humanitarian solutions at a time when millions were displaced. His reputation as an explorer and diplomat gave him credibility to his efforts, but it was his ability to turn ideals into action that made him stand out. Nansen's work deeply resonates with me. My great-grandparents were among the Greeks forced to flee Asia Minor in 1922 during what was later recognized as the Pande-Greek genocide. Their survival was tied to the refugee support that Nansen helped to facilitate. In 2025, over a century after Nansen's laureation, discussions about refugees and repatriation, whether from Gaza, Ukraine or elsewhere, mirror the challenges that Nansen confronted. Nansen's work encourages many. and shows that you do not have to be tied to a certain group or trait when trying to create peace. Nansen himself was a zoologist and explorer after all, and still played a major role in securing safety for thousands. To conclude, the Nobel Committee awarded Nansen the Peace Prize in 1922 because he showed the world that peace is not just about the absence of war. It's about the presence of solidarity, cooperation, and humanity in any way possible. And a century later, his visions remain urgent. That for each of us, whether individuals or organizations, can play a role in protecting them forced to flee.